Happy New Year, everyone! This is Old Man Troy, joined by the wonderful Kevin Cunningham, a.k.a. Kid Cunny on Twitter. Not quite the New Year yet, but by the time this show's on the website, it will be 2020. So I thought I'd say happy. Any big plans for New Year's Eve with the Mrs. Youngster?
No.
You know what, youngster? People are going to start thinking you're either like a prude or a boring prude. Just saying. Every time I ask you got any exciting plans, you say no.
Yeah.
So
no.
I have an excuse. I'm old.
Yeah.
You have no excuse. I know you're married. You're married, so that's partly an excuse right there.
Right.
That is.
Yeah, we do just fine being at home, chilling, ordering whatever food, hanging out together. We're not massive party people, so to say. So yeah, I mean, just enjoying the night at home, ordering wings or something. I don't know. But
youngster, I gotta teach you how to cook. I got to teach you how to cook. Like I was gonna put on Facebook on Saturday my stuffing balls. My wife just loves these things, right? So we didn't spend Christmas at our house. So I didn't cook. So my wife said on Friday she wanted the whole Christmas dinner on Saturday. Now I didn't go like all out, like to feed an army, but I went and bought a small turkey, little 12-pound turkey, made my stuffing balls, made some gravy, biscuits, and had a little dinner because she wanted that. I got to teach you how to cook, youngster. I do.
My wife cooks. She cooks well, does well. But yeah, my cooking skills could improve for sure. Maybe a little New Year's resolution to improve my cooking skills.
Yeah, well, we're not doing a cooking podcast. Not happening. No,
that's true.
We can't compete with the likes of a Rachel Ray. No way. Just can't. Just can't. Well, let's move into it, though. A lot going on in the Big Ten, youngster. Big Ten basketball, bowl games, of course, recruiting, all kinds of things going on in the Big Ten. I know we want to kind of keep this quick to the point and just keep moving along. So let's get into it, my friend.
Yeah, little mix, like you said. We'll start with college basketball, just the latest top 25, less than 5 minutes on that. And then the early signing, the early signing period for college football. What was that? When was that? That was like 3 weeks ago, something like that. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it was. I don't think we've done a show. Maybe it was only 2 weeks ago. We haven't done a show since then, so we haven't really talked about these recruiting classes that are basically already done. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. So, just wanted to go over that again, less than 5 minutes, and then touch on the bowl games and bada bing, bada boom. So, anyway, college basketball to start. This poll just came out literally a few hours ago as we're recording the show on Monday, and this is the 30th now. So Gonzaga was ranked first last week, and they're ranked first again. So that's an impressive feat in this year's college basketball season because there's already been like
first time it's happened.
Yeah, there's been like 7 different number 1 teams already. Quite ridiculous. It breaks the old record of whatever it was, like 4. I think the old record was 4, and I think we're on 6. I think that sounds right in my head. I think we've had 2 more new number 1 teams before the new year, before the calendar year changes, ever in college basketball history. So that's how many upsets there have been at the top. For the Big Ten, just notably, there were 6 teams ranked last week, 6 teams ranked this week.
Quickly, I know we want to stay on task today, so I'm not going to get off. I just want to throw my 2 cents worth in on these number 1s. I think part of the reason is you don't have those 3 or 4 dominant teams this year that are like, this is a team that should win the national title. You've got good teams. Right. You got really good teams. Mm-hmm. But you don't have a dominant handful of them with the one-and-done guys like, oh, look how great this Kentucky team is, or look how great this Duke team is. You've got good, solid teams up there in the top 10. You don't have any of those, at least in my mind, those dominant, I could pick them to win the Final Four. I could pick them to win the bracket right now. I don't think you have those. you don't have any this year, which is
No.
good. I think that might make for a very competitive tournament in March. Just wanted to throw that out there.
No, this is the most competitive it's going to be, the most wide open it's going to be, I think. And saying wide open is ridiculous because every year there's, 10 teams that can really win it. And that maybe this year it's like 15. Most years there's only like 7, 8 teams really in a college basketball tournament.
What it does, youngsters, it opens up the possibility for upsets.
Yeah.
We're seeing number ones go down early in the year. Now, again, there's a lot of basketball to be played, and you know how much I care about the rankings in December. I don't.
Right.
You're going to go through the rankings. I'm not going to interrupt you one time during the rankings. Just not going to. I don't care. I don't care where your team is. If they're ranked number 14, good for them. They're the 14th best team starting January. Whoop-de-doo-hoo. I don't care. I just think, though, with no dominant force like riding the wave at number one, it's going to maybe allow some more upsets in the tournament. Now, you know that what's going to happen, youngster. All this stuff going on early in the season, January, February, number one's going down, number two's going down. We're going to get to the tournament, it's going to be all chalk. It's going to be chalk all the way to the Final Four. That's my luck.
Could be. So Gonzaga's 1, Duke 2, Kansas 3. The one thing I want to mention, too, after I say the Big Ten teams very quickly, is just some of the names and where they're ranked, and it goes to show how kind of weird of a year this is. But so for the Big Ten, Ohio State is 5, Michigan is 12, Michigan State 14, Maryland 15, and then you got Penn State at 21, Iowa 23. So those are the 6 Big Ten teams that are in the top 25 as of the new year. But again, I wanted to mention too, like, usually you don't see Gonzaga up at number 1. And one thing with Gonzaga I want to say is it's a really good Gonzaga team, but they've had better teams before. Whether it's only 1 or 2, nitpick however you want. But this is a really good Gonzaga team. But like Troy has basically been saying before, there's no dominant team. This is not the best Gonzaga team. This is not, oh yeah, they're definitely making the Final Four. They're really good. They've got really talented players. But again, there have been better Gonzaga teams, in my opinion, anyway. The other thing I want to mention, again, some of these teams that you don't usually see where they're ranked, like Oregon is number 4 right now. I can't remember the last time Oregon basketball was ranked in the top 4. Baylor up at 6, you don't usually see. Auburn up at 8, Memphis at 9, and Memphis is without the number 1 recruit in the country. Like, he's already going to the NBA. He's already, ineligible. So Memphis at 9, Butler up at 11, San Diego State's 13. That's not insane, but usually you don't see San Diego State that high. And then you get teams like Kentucky at 17, North Carolina. I know they had like a 4-game losing streak at one point. I don't even know if they're going to make the tournament, to be honest with you, this year. Virginia's down at 19, Dayton up at 20, Penn State even at 21. You never see that. So a team like Arizona is 25. So it's just, you have some of these top dogs that are kind of lagging a bit. And Duke, like, I'm a Duke fan, but this is a really good Duke team, but it's nowhere near what, some of the Duke teams they've had in the past recently. So again, Gonzaga's really good, Duke's really good, Kansas is really good, Oregon's got talent, Ohio State's got talent, but like, that's your top 5. And then you get into teams like Baylor, you get into teams like Louisville, who just lost to Kentucky. So I don't know. To me, it's going to be a very wide open tournament. More so, there are more opportunities for upsets to happen, I think, this year. It doesn't mean that it will happen, but there will be more likely. It is more likely that upsets will happen more often, I think, in the tournament this year. Again, doesn't mean that craziness is going to ensue. It's just more likely that a 14 seed is going to beat a 3. Doesn't mean you're going to see 3 upsets happen like that, but it's just more likely, in my opinion.
Well,
anyway,
you could also see a Final Four that has no number 1s.
Right.
It could happen, just based on. And I don't want to say it's down. I actually enjoy it. I think it's very competitive.
Yeah, it's cool.
And I'm an underdog guy. So when the number 1 team goes down, like the last 6 weeks, it's like, yeah, all right, way go, way to go. Because it's not like they're playing a number 4 team in the country. That's not really an upset at that point.
Right.
So with these number 1s going down, and then you mentioned some other teams, Kevin, and again, I'm going to go into my little, why I love the rankings in December. San Diego State, let's play. We don't have time to do. We only got, we don't have time we don't have time constraints on this show. But we're going to make time constraints. If we pulled their schedule up and said, okay, let's look at the strength of San Diego State's schedule right now.
Right.
Again, they're winning games. They're not losing, so kudos to them. Are they really ranked are they really that good of a team to be ranked that high? Probably not.
Right.
But what's happening is other teams are losing. They keep winning. They've got to keep moving up the rankings because when you look at the writers and the coaches, they're just looking at San Diego State's record. Okay, they beat so-and-so 60-51. They beat so-and-so 72-55. They keep winning. They're not watching the game. They're not saying, okay, yeah, you know what? That San Diego State team is really good. No, they're looking at scores. They're looking at record. When conference play begins now, youngster, I'll start paying more attention to these rankings come February. But right now, I don't give a rat's you-know-what's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. I had one more point, but then I forgot it. That's what I was going to mention is the Big Ten, the rest of the Big Ten conference schedule. It's a 20-game schedule. 2 games have already been played by every single team. The other 18 will start, I think it's January 2nd. It's the next game for all these teams. So I think all these teams are done until January 2nd. Some will start the 3rd, some the 4th, whatever. But then it's all Big Ten versus Big Ten at that point. So until literally.
And it's all basketball from here on forward. Maybe a couple minutes of football recruiting news, but from here on out, youngster, it is all basketball. Big Ten basketball because we have bad news here in a little bit. That's why it'll be all basketball.
Yes, we do. Very quickly, also, I wanted to go over, again, the recruiting rankings. I want to spend less than 5 minutes on this. But because of the early signing period coming out a couple years ago, it's just grown in popularity. Kids that want to officially sign can officially sign. You're seeing teams like Michigan and these early signees, they're able to go onto campus and practice. Like Michigan's bowl practices consist of some 18-year-olds that aren't even officially on the team yet. They're just 2020 recruits that are signed, and yet they're practicing. Like, they can do that. That's another advantage to this early signing period. That's another advantage to making a bowl game, is that, hey, Illinois, early signees, you can actually, go onto campus and practice for the team's bowl game. You can't play, obviously. You're not a member of the team officially, but you are signed. So that's another positive for teams that, can have these early signees. And again, it's becoming more and more popular that some teams literally have filled their recruiting classes already. Like, they have no more scholarships to give. So National Signing Day hasn't even happened yet. That's National Signing Day is kind of an afterthought now. It's all about the early signing period, which is that 3-day window in mid-December. So again, most of these classes are formed. I wanted to go over the Big Ten. Also, there's a reason why it's Clemson versus an SEC power every year, and Ohio State is usually sprinkled in there somewhere. Like the first college football playoff, I'm just talking college football playoff era on. Like Ohio State won the first one, and then since then it's just been Clemson, Alabama, and now this year instead of Alabama we have LSU. It's seemingly the same teams over and over, basically. And even Oklahoma, who never wins a game in the playoff, they're seemingly always in the playoff anyway. And part of it is recruiting, and part of it is you have so many scholarships to give out. And all these classes always, like Ohio State's got 25 commits, Alabama's 26, Clemson 23. It's like there's nowhere, unless the program completely, something happens, a head coach leaves, whatever, a bad hire is made.
Scandal.
Scandal. Yeah. Like, Clemson's going nowhere. Alabama's going nowhere. Ohio State's going nowhere. Those are the top 3 classes. Georgia's 4, LSU 5. It's like those teams aren't going anywhere. Those teams are getting the best talent, and yes, just because you're a 5-star doesn't mean you're great. Just because you're a 2-star doesn't mean you suck. But overwhelmingly, if you have 3 times the amount of quote-unquote talented players than any other team, it's like it's a shoe-in for Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson to win 9 games a year. It's almost automatic that it's 10. And then usually if you do your job right, you go 13-0 and win your conference. But there's no reason why Clemson should lose a game in the ACC. There's no reason why Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, a very well-coached Wisconsin, Iowa, whatever, on any given Saturday can upset them. But as long as they keep pulling, 25 unbelievable players every class, it's very hard to catch up, So something drastic does have to happen. Anyway, with the Big Ten teams that I wanted to mention, again, Ohio State is 3. Next on the list here, I'm just going by 24/7 Sports. Michigan is 12, Penn State 13. Let's see here, Nebraska 20. So Scott Frost is bringing in some talented guys. Again, that doesn't necessarily equate to anything, but it is what it is. Wisconsin at 26. You don't usually see Wisconsin that high. I think Wisconsin had, is it a 5-star offensive lineman, which again is something, a 4-star, but he's already coming out of high school, supposed to be the real deal. Usually you get a 3-star offensive lineman at Wisconsin, and they turn into
Kevin, I'm a Badger fan, and any loyal listeners know I'm a Badger fan. I'm going to give 2 cents. I know we want to go quick here, but you're right. You usually see Wisconsin in the 40s, somewhere around there, and it's because Paul Chryst will go out and recruit guys for his system. He knows what he wants. I think he looks at the rankings. Everybody does. When I recruited in college, I did. I looked at, what's the ranking on this guy? Right. Chris is looking for guys that are going to fit into his system.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, Kevin, how much having Graham Mertz as the quarterback next year has played into Chris being able to go and recruit quality guys. Wisconsin finally has, and I'm going to air quote, finally has a quarterback. We don't know yet because he hasn't played a significant snap. But he's supposed to be the real deal, right? I wonder how much that plays into Wisconsin getting a couple more 4-stars than they normally do. You just wonder.
Yeah.
Because, when's the last time that the Badgers had a quarterback that's going to be in the program for multiple years? I know they had Russell Wilson, but he was a grad transfer. He wasn't a recruit. And he wasn't a guy that was going to be there for multiple years. So, again, I don't put a lot of stock into the numbers, Kevin. You know that.
Yeah.
But when the rankings come out and you say that, my mind goes to how much having Mertz does that play into another player going, you know what? I think I want to go play at Wisconsin. Because with a true quarterback, Kevin, and quarterback play is so important, maybe these players are buying into what Chris is selling. Plus, he can dangle out, we've got a real quarterback now on paper. I mean, we haven't seen him play. We haven't seen him lead the team. So I just want to throw that out there. I don't know what your quick thoughts are on that, if that plays into it at all. Yeah,
it could be. I think that over the last decade, for sure, it's almost automatic that a Wisconsin offensive lineman gets selected in the first round now. Also, to note, their top 2 recruits are 2 offensive tackles. They're literally from the state of Wisconsin.
Go figure.
So, right.
Is one from Fond du Lac?
No. Wales and Stoughton.
Yeah, because Fond du Lac usually puts out some big boys.
But it just so happened, I guess, this year that, the top 2 players are 2 4-star offensive tackles, literally from Wisconsin. Wisconsin got them both. The other thing with Wisconsin is they took the top Minnesota player as well, who's an outside linebacker. He's a 4-star outside linebacker. They actually got 2 4-star outside linebackers in this class. The top Minnesota guy and then someone from Hawaii. Even.
Wow, look at Paul Chryst go. Building in the trenches and building with defense. Wow, go figure.
Yeah. So anyway, Wisconsin 26, Maryland 27. This 5-star wide receiver was committed to LSU, and for whatever reason, he flipped his commit to Maryland. So that's Maryland's prize recruit, is they have a 5-star wide receiver. So that was interesting during the early signing period when that happened. Purdue at 29, again, they're bringing in more wide receivers there, go figure. Iowa 31, Minnesota 33, Northwestern up at 36, kind of surprised me. Usually they're lower. And then Michigan State at 42. They have 0 4-stars, which, again, you can be a 3-star player, you can be a 2-star player, turn into a top 5 pick. We see that every other year. We see 2-star players, unranked players, becoming first-rounders in the NFL draft every single year, literally. So it doesn't mean anything, but it helps when you have 20 different 5- and 4-star guys going against 20 different 3-star guys. It allows Ohio State to mess up on a couple plays where Michigan State doesn't have that luxury.
Well, the problem there with Michigan State youngster is all of the off-the-field stuff that was going on during the season. 8,000 guys going into the transfer portal.
Yeah.
If I'm a 4-star recruit and I'm seeing this turmoil and guys putting in their name for the portal, why would I want to commit to Michigan State?
Right.
And there hasn't been a 100% pat on the back that D'Antonio is going to be back. So, at least I haven't heard. I don't know if you heard anything. But
the president at the university is saying, yeah, he's our guy, but nothing official saying one way or the other, right? Who knows?
There hasn't been that amazing boost of confidence. So you got to put yourself in these kids' shoes, youngster. I don't know the status of Michigan State football right now, and there seems to be some turmoil. So I kind of figured the recruiting class was going to be down. It's actually better than I thought it would be as far as if you're going by rankings. I thought it would be more like in the 60s or 70s.
Yeah, that's when it gets pretty bad. So those were the 11 that made up the top 50. The other 3 I won't even get into from the Big Ten, but there were 11 in the top 50, like 10 in the top 36, I think it was, whatever it was. But yeah, and there's been a number of guys saying they're returning to school, they're going to the NFL draft. I know today a Michigan State corner said he was going into the draft. That's just off the top of my head because I was working today and it happened. But so, decisions like that are made every single day too. So most of these players, it seems like they wait until after the bowl game to announce it. But in any case, speaking of the bowl games, let's start with the Big Ten bowl games that started on Friday, December 27th. We're going to go, pretty quickly unless I've got, Troy have something to say about it. But
no, not a lot.
Yeah, not really breaking these games down other than one of them I would want to talk more about. But Iowa over USC in the Holiday Bowl on the 27th. They won 49-24. Good for you. Again, it's a bowl game. It's an exhibition game. It doesn't mean anything. Amir Smith-Marset, the wide receiver, though, he had 3 touchdowns in the second quarter. He had a running touchdown. He had a reception, a receiving touchdown, and then he also took a kickoff return. I think it was 98 yards. So he's a junior. He hasn't made a decision yet as to whether he's staying or going for his senior year. But it was funny seeing, a Big Ten guy outrun this, supposedly fast USC team, up and down the field for an entire quarter and scoring 3 touchdowns. So it was just funny to see.
Well, I was surprised they put up 49 points. I know USC's no power like they were in the past. But that for an Iowa team, 49 points is a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, again, it helps when your wide receiver gets a rushing score and a kickoff return. But, yeah, I hear you. Their defense scored, I think, 2 in the fourth quarter. But, yeah, that's, I agree with you. Wasn't expecting Iowa to put up 49. So, anyway, that's all I got there. Nate Stanley, the quarterback, this is his final year, so he'll be gone. But, we'll talk more about these teams, obviously, come springtime, fall time, next year when these teams are actually getting ready to play games again. But that was Iowa's last game of 2019. Moving on, Michigan State beat Wake Forest 27-21 in the New Era Pinstripe Bowl. Again, Congratulations. It's an exhibition game. I don't have much more here. Michigan State was 6-6 going into its bowl game. That's not good for Michigan State. And again, the recruiting class probably, goes to show what happened there, the repercussions of that, so to say. But
go Spartans! Thanks for helping me win in my draft in my sports book.
There you go. Saturday, the 28th. There were 2 games from the Big Ten anyway, including the college football playoff. Penn State beat Memphis in the Cotton Bowl, 53-39. That was a very entertaining game. I was surprised.
I watched a lot of that one. Youngster, I usually don't watch bowl games,
right?
Except for the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I was doing some stuff around the house. I turned it on, and then I didn't get bored of doing stuff around the house. It wasn't stuff that had to be done. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of little odds and ends things like, I should do this, and okay, I'll do that. Well, then I just kind of like moseyed on over to the couch, wanted to check on my bets, and it's like, wow, this game's pretty exciting. So I enjoyed it. It looked like those guys were out there playing in this game and actually had some emotions and wanted to win. It was kind of interesting to see. But I enjoyed it. It was a good game.
Yeah, nobody sat. Nobody, went to the NFL draft and that's it. I'm done. I'm not playing in the bowl game, at least from my knowledge from Penn State. I was on all day watching all these games, working. But that was a highly entertaining game. Penn State just ran it down Memphis's throat. I mean, they had, I think it was over 360 yards rushing. That was insane. And again, Memphis was able to keep up offensively for a long time. 53-39 final score. I guess 2 things.
It was closer than that score says, though, youngster. If nobody watched that game.
Right.
Like I had money on Penn State. And again, I live in Pennsylvania. So when you're on DraftKings Sportsbook, they have like these little enticing games to play. Like the game that I played. So I made out pretty good on this one. Minimum $25 bet on Penn State is what you have to do. And you get a free $6 bet for every touchdown they score.
Sure.
So I got a $42 free bet.
Right.
Not bad. So I was checking that out, and I mean, the thing is, for a while there, I'm like, man, Memphis might come back and win this thing. So it was closer than the final score really dictates, because Memphis, they were able to move the ball against this good Penn State defense, which was surprising. So carry on.
I agree. They were averaging over 40 a game coming into this game. They were 12-1 for a reason. They were ranked for a reason. So, those really, really, really good group of 5 schools, they're really, really, really good for a reason. They don't suck and go 12-1. You know what I mean? But, I was impressed with Memphis. 2 things I want to mention. Somebody put a $19,000 bet on Penn State covering. That kind of hit the internet, and that was insane to me, that you would put $19,000 on a meaningless bowl game. That's insane. It's one thing to bet Clemson, Ohio State. Those teams, everybody's playing, everybody's, giving it their all. But Penn State, Memphis, that's $19,000.
It was a pretty good line. What was the line? 6.5 when it closed?
Yeah, 6.5.
I think it was at 7 at one point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, you got 6.5.
I just think the dollar amount, Kevin, is insane, because it's like I wish I had $19,000 to bet. Actually, I would never. Even if I had $19,000, I wouldn't bet it.
Right. Like, on a bowl game.
I bet on Penn State. I bet $50.
Yeah.
$50 on Penn State. But the only reason I did is because I had that enticement of getting free bets. I didn't think Penn State was scoring 7 touchdowns.
No.
But, when I wake up on Sunday morning and see a $42 free bet in my bank, hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, for sure.
But I should side with them, though, youngster, because I do some silly things on Sportsbook. Like, I bet on meaningless things, too.
Yeah, but $19,000. Like, I understand, I understand having money and betting on a meaningless bowl game, but $19,000? I mean, unless you're, To me, you would have to have easily be a millionaire, like comfortably be a millionaire, to throw 19 grand on a exhibition bowl game. That was crazy to me. Anyway, I guess we can kind of wrap. Let's just get into Clemson, Ohio State, and then we can talk about the games to close out. But so this game obviously mattered for Ohio State. Not that it doesn't for Michigan State. Not that it doesn't for Penn State. But there was truly something to play for here for Ohio State. And I want to say this to start. This game we'll actually get into more, but as an Ohio State fan, seeing them go up 16-0, seeing the targeting call that automatically ejected Shaun Wade, seeing the momentum shift that happened there, seeing the calls that went against Ohio State, seeing after the fact Ohio State fans complaining about how, Clemson paid the refs and the refs gave Clemson the game, yada, yada, yada. It's still the same thing no matter what show we do, Troy. Again, I'm an Ohio State fan, and literally the whole day after, like Sunday the 29th, like I was affected by that, just based on how they lost. It's one thing to lose 37-10, and it's just like, well, Clemson's better, whatever. It is what it is. Ohio State went out there, my team got beat. Fair enough. To see Ohio State lose the way they did, it stung more. Again, it affected me for a day. Like, it really did. I'm over it now. But so, again, as an Ohio State fan, somebody who actively wants them to win every single game for my own personal enjoyment, like, to blame the refs for, like, again, the targeting call, I don't understand fans not agreeing with that and thinking that was wrong, because it was targeting. Like, you hit the guy on his helmet with your helmet. That is targeting. Now, for me, personally, very quickly with this, I think there should be two different levels of targeting. I think that if you watch the LSU-Oklahoma game, there was a targeting called in that one, and the Oklahoma guy, to me, should be ejected out of the next 6 games automatically. Like, he should be suspended for 6 games. Like, that's how egregious that targeting was. You could tell he was headhunting on a wide receiver who wasn't even going for a ball. He just launched himself into the wide receiver's head. Like, to me, that guy should be out for 6 games. The Ohio State one, should he be ejected for the game for lowering his helmet and Trevor Lawrence lowers his head and it just so happens that they hit heads? Absolutely, you should get a penalty. Absolutely, it should be targeting. You want to throw him out of one drive. You want to throw him out of one quarter. You want to give it a 20-yard penalty to make it the point known that, hey, we care about this. This is the largest penalty there is in the game to give. Go ahead. But I feel like just because targeting is called, just because your helmet hits another player's helmet, doesn't mean you should automatically be ejected from the game. So I have nothing wrong with the ruling on the field. It should have been targeting, and because of that, he got ejected from the game. It is what it is. But I think something should be added to targeting. I think you've, read, seen, heard a lot of people say that after the fact, that there needs to be 2 different levels of targeting. Like, it's not just, oh, there's targeting, you're automatically ejected. I don't know about your thoughts on that, Troy.
I'm against the whole targeting thing to begin with. I understand there's got to be penalties, but it's football. And there is. There are guys that go out there and headhunt, Kevin, but the bottom line, I'm going to relate this. So I'm a soccer guy. I played soccer my whole life. Did we play against guys that were intentionally slide tackling with cleats up to hurt people? Yeah.
Right.
And you know who those guys are. And believe me, the referees knew too. My point to this is, it doesn't matter what team you are. There's going to be guys out there that are just nasty, dirty, shouldn't be playing athletes. The problem I have with this, Kevin, is that they are, what's the word? The word's on the tip of my tongue. They're the minority. They are the minority in the group. And so I'm watching games all year, not just this game. I watch games all year. So-and-so got ejected for targeting. So-and-so's got to sit out this half and then the first half of another game because the ball was thrown, the receiver jumped, and the defensive back had a great play on the ball, but oh my God, he smacked him in the head with his helmet. Come on. It's football. Some of these guys, yes, Kevin, are intentionally trying to hurt people. But it's not every team. It's not every player. I have a big problem with this. And you know me, I'm an old school guy.
Yeah.
If it is intentional, I think it is something that should, like the NFL does. They review these things in New York, levy fines the week after. So why can't the NCAA, when there's a supposed targeting or a headhunter out there, review the play, have the team send it to the office in Indianapolis, I'd say, I'd like you to review this. We believe that this player was intentionally trying to hurt our player.
Yeah.
And then levy suspensions from that standpoint. On the field, 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct. And I know people say, whoa, those guys are going to hurt people. Well, unfortunately, I guess I don't want to offend anybody, but let's not be babies about this. Anybody that's played sports, I don't want to say you know how to protect yourself and you can't always protect yourself, Kevin, but you know. I mean, you played basketball. I'm sure you played against guys that you knew were hacks. Like, hey, this guy is going to hack the heck out of me, and he doesn't care. He's just going to do it until he gets 5 fouls.
Right.
Like I said, I played against guys in soccer that, were they intimidating? Kind of, because I didn't want my ankles raked up. You know what I'm talking about?
Right. Yeah.
But I also knew what I had to do. If I saw the guy coming up as a defender, I'm like, okay, if I burn this guy, I better be ready to go down because he's going to slide from behind. He's going to do it. And I don't want to say that you think about that in your head because you go out and play, but when you get up, like it happened to me, it's like, oh, son of a gun, he got me. You know, and he was probably trying to hurt me. Look, I won. So my point to this youngster, I think the guys that this rule was made for are a minority of all of college. How many college football players are there? How many targeting calls were called on X amount of plays? It's minuscule. But it's so, to me, throwing guys out of a game, and again, not just a championship game, I'm talking a regular season game, how it affects the team when that guy was just out there playing. It's ridiculous. One bad apple ruins the bunch. That's what happens, and that's my stand on it. I don't know if people agree with me, disagree. Find me on Twitter at TroyRobert967. Call me just a bozo for thinking that way. I don't like the rule at all, Kevin. I think it should be banned. I think they should just get rid of it. I don't agree with it. Review everything case by case. Because believe me, there's not that many every weekend in the college ranks that, oh my God, we don't have time. No. How many targeting calls happen every weekend? And then I would say the caveat is it has to be initiated by the school. If you believe that other player was targeting your guy, send it to the NCAA, have them review it. Don't have a referee that's in the middle of a game. And I love what the referees do, Kevin. And I know we hear fans. Sometimes we're critical of referees. I would never want to be one.
No.
But referees are in the heat of a moment. Emotionally, they're vested in this game, too, even though that you don't think they are. I mean, they're out there trying to make the right calls. What if they made a bad call earlier in the game and it's still in his head, or he's wavering 50-50? Oh, it's close. Oh, yeah, I'm going to call targeting and kick the guy out. I know that they can review it, but I don't know. I don't like the rule. I'm done babbling. We got to carry on.
Again, that's the issue to me is you want to review it, fine, but have an option to not kick the guy out. Like, I think, to me, there's just different levels of it. And if it's obviously egregious and you can tell the guy is doing something ridiculous, toss him out of the game. Like, that's fine. But there can be targeting and not toss the guy out of the game. That's just my opinion. I think we're going to see that rule change for next year because I
don't like the word targeting, youngster, though. A helmet to helmet, to me, is not targeting. Targeting
like, to me,
means that you maliciously want to go hurt that guy.
Yeah, I hear you. I think, I don't know if you saw that Oklahoma LSU one. That, to me, was legitimate targeting. Like, he was targeting the guy's head. Like, that was absurd.
Yeah, he was trying to hurt the guy.
Yeah. But, like, this Ohio State-Clemson one, that to me was not. So I don't understand Ohio State fans getting, mad at that. Like, it was called what it was. It should have been called that. And it just sucks that the rule is what it is, that he automatically gets ejected. But realistically, it is what it is. Like, shouldn't have put yourself in that position. For the other bad call, the obvious bad call with the whole catch and fumble, and they reviewed it, and the guy took 3 steps with the ball, and then he dropped it, and it was ruled on the field that Ohio State picked it up and scored, and it was a fumble. It's like, if you would have called it incomplete, like in live television, I thought it was an incomplete pass. So to me, I wouldn't expect that play to get reviewed and then overturned to an Ohio State recovery and a touchdown defensively. But the same thing goes for if you think it was a fumble and Ohio State scored and that's what it was, I don't think there was enough evidence to overturn it to, no, it's an incomplete pass. That was my issue with that. But so to get away from that, like, yes, that call probably should not have been overturned. Getting away from the refs now, like, okay, refs screwed up, that sucked for momentum. Like, to have Ohio State fans just flooding message boards and posts about how terrible the refs are and how Clemson paid the refs. Again, I'm an Ohio State fan, and to me, I'm just sick of it. Like, it's just stupid. Like, Ohio State had the ball, just this alone. Here, just take all the other stats out. Just listen to what I'm going to say for the next 30 seconds. Ohio State had the ball 5 times in Clemson's 25-yard line. They had 3 field goals, they had 1 touchdown, and then they had the 1 interception to end the game. If you want to beat Clemson, you score more than 3 field goals and 1 touchdown and 1 turnover there.
Can't win kicking field goals.
Right. Be better. Like, I felt so good at 10-0 when Ohio State scored that touchdown. It's like, oh, here we go. This is a great start. And then afterwards, they had 2 field goals getting into the red zone. And it's like, Ohio State's only up 16-0. Like, this sucks. Like, very easily, Clemson could get back into the game. And then they did. Because you weren't capitalizing. You weren't scoring touchdowns. And whether it's J.K. Dobbins not securing the diving catch in the end zone, whether it's J.K. Dobbins getting caught at the 7-yard line after a 60-yard run, and that turns into a field goal instead of a touchdown, like, all those little plays, you not scoring touchdowns instead of field goals, / just throwing the interception, on the last play of the game, that's what loses you.
Throw that one out, though, Kevin. You guys, to be honest, what you're talking, I would just throw that one out. It didn't work at an interception because I think your points are valid on the other field goals. Okay, you can't score a touchdown every time.
Right.
So if you take 4 possessions, you are 1 out of 4, 25%.
Right.
In college, that sucks.
And if you want to add to it, like, Clemson in the second half averaged over 7 yards a play. Ohio State's defense had the lead. Ohio State's defense in the second half Ohio State's defense in this game played really well until Clemson needed that 1 score late in the fourth quarter. Then Clemson just rolled down the field. Right. And so Ohio State's defense didn't come up big when it needed to. And then Ohio State's
I can't remember the last time that Ohio State gave up a drive that long.
Yeah. And then Ohio State's offense had the opportunity to go down and score a touchdown. They were chugging along. I was thinking, oh, my God, they're actually going to do this. And J.K. Dobbins was wide open coming out of the backfield. Easy 7-yard completion there. You had like 40 seconds left. You had a timeout. You were on like the 20-yard line. Easy 10-yard gain right there. But instead, Justin Fields decided to push it a little bit, and I know it was miscommunication. Like, I have no blame on Olave, the wide receiver, who broke the route off, and Justin Fields throwing the ball where he should have. And both guys feel terrible about it. Olave especially feels terrible about it because he was supposed to go where Fields threw the ball, but he broke off because he thought Fields was scrambling, and he had to make a double move. We see that all the time in football. It's just a miscommunication. It just sucks that it was the last possession of the game, and Ohio State could have beat Clemson on that play. That's what was so heartbreaking about the game. It wasn't that Clemson beat Ohio State. It wasn't that Clemson got a favorable call or two. It was the way Ohio State lost. And again, Ohio State could have played better. Their defense could have gotten an extra stop. Their offense could have turned a field goal into a touchdown, and the whole game would have been different. So that's overall my take on it. It sucks. It affected me the day after. How close it was, how Ohio State lost was on a miscommunication play where they could have scored a touchdown. Again, if he dumps the ball off to Dobbins for a 10-yard gain, I think they go on and score and win the game. But a miscommunication happened near the end zone, and that's how they lost. At the end of the game, there were many reasons why they lost, but that was, the final dagger, obviously. But that was my overall take on the game. Clemson was really good. Clemson is really good. I think it was confirmed from the playoff games that LSU is really good, and Ohio State is really good, and Clemson's really good. And then that's kind of it. That's, I'm not going to get into LSU Oklahoma, but I think everyone knew that there were three powerhouses, and then that fourth team was going to get in, and it just is what it is.
I just want to say this about that LSU game, Kevin. You saw me tweet out the over-under was 76 at the start of the game, and I took under. I'm like, okay, LSU's going to score.
Yeah.
And I know Oklahoma's defense isn't great, but, man, the over-under was almost gone at the end of the half.
Oh, I know.
To me, that was a very poor performance by Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
Poor. I know LSU's offense is good, but Kevin, that was like playing Tecmo Bowl. You probably don't remember Tecmo Bowl.
No, I do, and that's what I was going to bring up is their quarterback had 400 yards passing and 7 touchdowns in the first half. That's to have 400 yards passing and 7 touchdowns in Tecmo Bowl, in Madden, 20. Whatever football video game you want to throw out there, to have 400 yards passing and 7 touchdowns in a game, that's video game-like numbers. Imagine, if they would have kept trying and he was on pace for 800 yards and 14 touchdowns passing. That's insane. That's beyond video game numbers. And this is a college football playoff semifinal. So the other thing I wanted to jut off to for a second about that is people were talking about how the playoff shouldn't be expanded because there's only 1 or 2, maybe 3 this year, really good teams every year. And most of the semifinal games aren't close. Historically, if you look back at the scores, most of them aren't really close. And so my argument to that is, well, we don't know who the best 2 teams are yet. The number 1 seed has never won the playoff. It's always been a 2 or a 4. A 4 seed has won. And one year a 4 seed played a 3 seed. So don't give me the argument that there's only 2 really good teams anyway. And we don't even need 4 teams. And we especially don't need an 8-team playoff. I don't think we do need an 8-team playoff, but don't act like we know who the 2 best teams are and it's just stupid to even have these semifinal games because they're blowouts usually anyway. No, it's almost never number 1 versus number 2 because number 1 never wins. They've never won in the playoff era. And again, we've had a 4 seed play a 3 seed in the championship game. So don't act like we all know who the top 2 teams are. And the semifinals are always just a joke. That's my final take on, playoff expansion because I was
just
seeing
have
that.
A darn tournament like D3 does. Just have a darn tournament.
Oh, I like that.
Oh yeah.
Again,
you might as well give props to our old school there, our Whitewater back in the Stag Bowl youngster. We talked about it on our Saturday show, not on the Big Ten show.
Yeah.
Whitewater Warhawks back in the Stag Bowl, even though they didn't win it. Proud of the guys. Proud of my school. Yeah.
Unless you got anything more, Troy, I went off on Clemson, Oklahoma, Clemson, Ohio State, my thoughts. Unless you got anything more, I can just read off these exhibition games that we got left.
All I want to say is I told you about my parlay yesterday with the Patriots, right? Well, yeah. Ohio State was my thorn on Saturday. I really thought Ohio State was going to win the game. So I didn't take Ohio State in the points because that decreases my line. I took Ohio State on the money line. and I played a couple parlays, and I didn't play for $1. And I'm just, I throw it out there because I'm a better. But I really believed Ohio State was the better team, even after the game is over, Kevin. Even after Clemson wins, I still think Ohio State is a better team.
I think so, too.
But you hit it on the head. There's two things that I was scratching my head about. One was the red zone efficiency of Ohio State. This is a team, Kevin, that we saw all year raking up points, being able to finish and put the ball in the end zone. And now, granted, they're playing against Clemson, a really good defense. But come on. To go 1 out of 4, I can see going 2 for 4. But then you only need a field goal probably on that last drive, not a touchdown.
Right, exactly.
Because you get 4 more points.
I mean, that's the difference. Is instead of 23, they have 27. If they have, instead of a field goal, you score a touchdown, you have 27 points. You're down by 2.
And they were in field goal range. And then Dobbins doesn't have to, or Fields doesn't have to go to the end zone. Maybe he does. Maybe he takes the check down at that point because they're already in field goal. Maybe they run the ball. I mean, they probably would ran the ball in that situation.
If they had one of those field goals turns into touchdowns, they win this game, in my opinion. That's why I don't blame the refs. Ohio State could have played better. They should have played better. They didn't, so they lost to a really good team.
Well, defensively giving up that 94-yard drive?
Yeah, something like that.
94 or 96, 94, I believe. That's just uncharacteristic. I said it before. I can't remember the last time Ohio State gave up a drive that long.
And again, they were playing really good all night long. I mean, Lawrence escaped for 60 yards on a touchdown. They gave up that one screen play for like a 50-yard touchdown. But overall, Clemson wasn't moving the ball up and down the field.
The thing is, you knew Clemson was going to score, and they held Clemson to 29 points.
Right. Nothing wrong with that.
We've talked about the college game, Kevin. Honestly, 23 points isn't going to win you a college football game.
Not in the playoff.
Good
you need to score more than 23
to win.
Yeah. When it comes to the playoff, you're playing against another elite offense, and undoubtedly. So you have to score more than 23 points. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, so that was my takeaway from the game, outside of the sarcasm about Ohio State costing me money.
Yeah. So
because they're not the only team, believe me. In the playoffs, they were though.
There you go. January 1st on Wednesday, Minnesota takes on Auburn in the Outback Bowl. Should be a good game. It should be a good game, but not going to get into it because it's not a playoff game. Michigan also plays Alabama at the same time, Wednesday afternoon. Could be a good game. Who knows? Tua is definitely out, so that helps Michigan. But again, if they win, great. If they lose, great. It's an exhibition
I don't
game.
think you would have played even if he was able to play.
Maybe not. One matchup I am curious to see, Rose Bowl, also on the first, a little later on, Oregon and Wisconsin. I am curious to see Herbert, Oregon's quarterback, against Wisconsin's defense. I'm also curious to see just Oregon in general. They are more known for pounding the ball, even though they have Herbert. It's kind of like Andrew Luck at Stanford. They're more known for running the football, this year anyway. And Oregon actually has, you could argue Oregon has a better offensive line than Wisconsin does, which is absurd to say and think, but they are that good. Oregon's offensive line is that good. They're that experienced. They're that talented. That's why Oregon has had the year that they've had, is because, in large part, because of their offensive line. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll just be a good game. It'll be interesting to see.
Oregon, Kevin, was one win away from being in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. They won the Pac-12. I mean, they slipped up. I think it was the week before. They slipped up. But if they would have won the game they should have and then beat Utah the way they did, to me, again, like I said weeks ago, they would have gotten in over Oklahoma because Oklahoma wasn't that flashy. this year, and they had more close games this year. So anyway, Oregon's a very quality opponent with an NFL quarterback and multiple NFL offensive linemen. So again, that'll be a good game. If Wisconsin wins, great. If Oregon wins, great. It's an exhibition game, but it should be a really good game. I'm curious to watch it.
So, Kevin, I told you about bowl games. Like, I don't put a lot of stock into them, but I want Wisconsin to win this one because it's a Rose Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, normally, like, if they're in the Outback Bowl or the Chrysler City Bowl or whatever the bowl is, I could care less if they win or lose. Yeah. When it's the Rose Bowl,
it does mean a little more.
To win. Yeah, it does, because it's the old adage, it's the granddaddy of them all. I mean, now that we got the playoff, not really, but me growing up and hearing that, and hearing that from the announcers, it's the granddaddy of them all. And it was always the last game on New Year's Eve, and you start the game with bright sunshine in the stadium. As the game's going on, it gets dark. The ambiance, for me, Kevin, is awesome. People talk about bucket lists. My bucket list is to attend a Rose Bowl game, and when Wisconsin is playing. I just, unfortunately, cool. I don't want to say I don't have the means. I don't have the time. It's just because you don't know when they're going to. You don't know they're going to be in the Rose Bowl until 2 weeks before the Rose Bowl.
Right.
So it's like I can't really juggle my schedule and say, oh yeah, guess what? So here's the thing: when I pick my vacation time, I'm going to tentatively pick it for these days. But if Wisconsin doesn't make it, then don't worry about it. I don't want my vacation.
Right.
So one day, though, as I get older and I have a little more flexibility in my schedule, I really would like to go and see Wisconsin play in the Rose Bowl. And it just goes to my point. I normally don't care about the results of a bowl game, except this one I do. When Wisconsin plays in the Rose Bowl, I am cheering like it is the Big Ten championship. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
I agree with you 100%. To say it's just another exhibition game is probably wrong, because I do agree with you. The ambiance of it, like you said, it is cooler than every other game, in my opinion.
And at the end of the day, it really is another exhibition game, but this one's been hyped up for so many years.
Yeah.
So many years, so many people watching. You always have quality teams in there because it's the way that it was set up for some of the younger listeners who don't know maybe the history of the Rose Bowl. It was always the Big Ten champ in the Rose Bowl, always.
Right.
And so Wisconsin never played in a Rose Bowl until the Barry Alvarez years. And as a Badger fan, I just got spoiled with Alvarez as the coach, Kevin. So, well, when they got that first Rose Bowl win, man, it was almost like the Packers winning the Super Bowl for me. And again, what does it mean at the end of the year, Rose Bowl champion? It does mean in the world of college football a little bit more, and I think it meant more when it was the Big Ten champ playing in that game. But I never lost that feeling for the Rose Bowl. When it's on, that is one bowl game that I watch. Even when Wisconsin's not in it, I'll watch a little bit just because I like that bowl. All right, I'm done.
I agree 100% with you. January 2nd, the next day, Indiana plays Tennessee in the Gator Bowl. Indiana had a really good year. That's great. But
you watching that one?
Do I work during that? I've got my schedule right in front of me.
Outside, if you don't work, if you don't work, are you watching that?
For 2 seconds to see how Indiana is doing because it's Indiana and they're having a really good year. For 2 seconds, I would. It's not the Rose Bowl though, So I'm in agreement with you there. That is
good news. I work. I can't watch it.
I work. I have to watch it.
Got an excuse.
Yeah, for me it's the opposite. Other than that, the only other game we haven't touched on is the one literally going on right now, the Red Box Bowl, Monday, December 30th.
I saw a Red Box the other day. I know we joked about, is there even Red Box around anymore? I saw a Red Box the other day.
There you go. So California's up on.
He was playing a football game. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Yeah. California is beating Illinois literally as we speak, 28-13. Once all the bowl games are over, we can, touch on them, like we did with, Michigan State, Wake Forest, and Iowa, USC, and Penn State, Memphis, but obviously got more in depth with Ohio State, Clemson. But yeah,
well, as should. I mean, that's the one that mattered. I mean,
right.
It mattered because that's the one for all the marbles.
Yeah.
And I just want to say this, though. As much as I make fun of this Red Box Bowl, for Illinois to be in a bowl game, that's a step in the right direction for that program.
Yeah.
So, again, I am always sarcastic about the multitude of bowl games.
Right.
Me and my ambiance at the Rose Bowl. This is no Rose Bowl. It's the Red Box Bowl. But when it comes down to, and I wipe away all the sarcasm, going back to being a college coach, Kevin, you need every opportunity. You need every angle to recruit.
Right.
And to say that you've taken the program into bowl status,
right,
that means a lot. It
Yep.
may not get you a 5-star, but it could get you a really good quality 3 stars. And going to a bowl game in that sense matters because you can go out on the recruiting trail and say, look, this is where the program was, this is what I've done, this is where we're going, this is a stepping stone, we want you to be part of it, blah, blah, blah. And you sell yourself, you sell your program. Hard to sell your program when you're 5-7, 5-7.
Right.
Getting to a bowl for Illinois is a good step in the right direction for that program. So all kidding aside, congratulations to Illinois for getting to a bowl game because it will help them. And you know me, Kevin, anything to help the conference. You're an Ohio State fan. I'm a Badger fan. I want every team to be a quality team. I even want Rutgers to be a quality team. The more quality teams, the more competitive that conference gets. And that means more on a national level.
Right.
So I like it when teams, and I'm not just saying that because we do a Big Ten show. I literally want every team to be successful. The more successful teams in the Big Ten, the more recognition, the better prepared, Kevin, also. The better prepared teams are to get in that playoff and perform.
Right.
That's just me. You've been doing shows with me long enough. My coaching philosophy on non-scheduling and playing those tougher opponents. Yeah, you need some of the cupcakes because your guys need rest. But when you get to a conference schedule, if you're deep top to bottom and you're playing a tough game and there's no gimmies, that's only going to make you better because you got to bring your A game every week. There's no mental lapses. You got to play. You got to practice. You got to get better. So when the conference is good and deep, that means every week there's no weeks off, and you're getting better, and your performance should be better. That's all I got.
Yep. Nothing to add. Good way to end
all
the show.
Right, wrap it up, youngster. You're so eloquent when you wrap up the show. Wrap it up. I'm gonna let you wrap it up.
Sounds good. Follow us on social media, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Facebook, at YoungsterOldMan, Facebook.com/YoungsterOldMan, Twitter.com/YoungsterOldMan. Also, YoungsterOldMan.home.blog is our homepage, and TheGruelingTruth.com hosts all of the shows we do, but especially Twitter. Troy does an awesome job at YoungsterOldMan of posting every single show that Troy and I do. Multiple shows every single week, not just Big Ten, but national stuff, especially NFL playoffs. We'll obviously be getting into the NFL stuff on our weekly shows that we do that air in different markets. So, for the old man,
and for the radio, I'll throw it out there for our listeners that want to listen on the radio. We have one of our main stations is on the TuneIn app, and I think that's cool because you don't have to be in the local listening area to listen to the show.
Correct.
And you don't even have to, a lot of people have that TuneIn app on their phone. And so if you follow us on Twitter, I give the link to the TuneIn app. Just go in there. You don't even have to search for it. You go right to the station. You can turn it on. Boom. There it is. Every Saturday, 12 o'clock. You can listen to the Youngster and Old Man. That's all I got. You ready to let them go, youngster? Let them go.
For the old man, I am the youngster. Taking Troy's line, for the old man, I am the youngster. Have a good day, everyone.